Usually I say, so here I am in Iserlohn, in beautiful Schwerte in Haus Willigst, with Kenny Hill, who's the third person involved with Martinez Guitars, and he's here exhibiting guitars himself. Kenny, so tell me a little bit about what gave you the impetus for... Oh, it's not bloody recording. Oh, yes, it is. What gave me the impetus to start a factory in China?
Well, when I first, actually, I started not with Martinez, but with some other guys who were Chinese guys, kind of Chinese-American guy, who wanted to start a guitar company. So I worked with him for 2 or 3 years. They were violin makers, and they got into it. But that partnership didn't go anywhere. We made some nice guitars, but then with Alex and Wolfgang, I don't know. I guess it's just like trying to take the skills that I had or of guitar making and exercise them on a larger scale. You know, for money. You know, for business reasons, and also just to see if we could do it.
It's quite a challenge, isn't it?
It was a challenge, and so I kind of had that idea, and Wolfgang and I, as we got to know each other, talked about it a little bit. I had a completely unrealistic idea of how much it would cost and how much work it would be to do it. So we just said, oh, that'll be easy, you know. And then when we teamed up with Alex, he'd been working at another guitar factory and as production manager, I guess. And so then we kind of put together this team that, you know, Alex had the know-how and the Chinese kind of connections and the ability to put together machinery and employ people and all of that. I know how to make guitars.
Yeah.
And so I could teach that to the original workers and to Alex and whoever else would come along with that. And Wolfgang had a lot more experience in the music business than either one of us did, as far as sales, anyway, in Europe, sales, and he liked to go looking for wood, so he also really loves to go to wood mills and go to the source for wood. So, you know, it was a pretty good combination.
I think it's a wonderful combination of people. Yeah. How many did you start with in your initial factory for Martinez?
You know, well, you start with 1, and then you have 2, and then there's 3. And then probably at first they were knocking out, I don't remember, maybe 20 or 30 a month.
But how many workers were there?
I think there was, I don't remember, it was 7 or 12.
And how many have you got now?
300.
So you've obviously expanded a lot. How long, what's the length of time?
Well, we're at 11 years now.
11 years?
Yeah.
And
at first, you know, we were making guitars for OEM manufacturer, that is making guitars for all different brands, a bunch of different brands. Too many we got, because of course we needed to sell these things. Then we started having guitars and went, well, that's good, but now what do we do? And I don't know, if just thought that, you know, people would come streaming through the door. I didn't want to have anything to do with that. I did not want to be a salesman. But eventually I had to lock in the American market. And I did that with Cordoba guitars.
Yeah.
And that was a big boost, because Cordoba is such a huge marketing machine that that they were able to really build their brand, but our manufacturing, you know, our product, but their brand. And that, I think, was a very valuable experience for everybody, and it's still going on. Now, you know, and Martinez has been a brand more for Europe for a while, but now Alex has finally got the idea and the focus that he's pushing on the Chinese market, which is growing rapidly. And he's in a perfect position to do that. So he's now really leveraging, you know, the production and sale of Martinez within China. And, you know, he's learned a lot from dealing with Cordoba about what it is to build a brand.
Yeah.
You know, building a brand is different than building guitars. You know, it
Okay.
takes a different kind of attitude, and that's what he's working on in China now. And like anything that he does, it seems it's like once he gets started, he kind of goes crazy. You know?
Yeah, you can tell that he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, you know, he'll switch from emphasis to emphasis. You know, from obsession to obsession.
Yeah.
And when he hits on the right one, then
Yeah.
he goes.
So just to give everybody an example, how many guitars do you think you sold last year?
I think the factory probably made about 50,000 guitars.
50,000.
I don't know how to really know, and 60,000 is my guess.
And your main market up till now has been in Europe.
Well, for the Martinez brand. Now, see, there's still a couple of other brands being made.
Yeah?
there. Yeah,
So-
but the Martinez brand is that was a name that Wolfgang brought. You know,
Yeah.
he had that trademark registered in Europe, and you know, so because of the arrangement with Cordoba, Martinez is not sold in the U.S.
Right.
That would be a real conflict of interest, and that's, you know, an exclusive agreement for there. So as long as that relationship exists, which I hope it does for a long time, but that means that Martinez will be, you know, I don't know how many sales there are in Europe really, but in China that is the growing market.
So just a couple of final questions. I'm interested to know how you got into guitar making in the first place, because you obviously play and you also write music.
You know, when I was in my 20s, well, before I played pipe organ.
Oh.
That was my original instrument.
Amazing.
I played Bach on the pipe organ. That was the sort of my teenage obsession. It wasn't very good for getting girls, I'll tell you that. But at a certain
Worked for
point,
Bach.
I realized that you know, this was a cultural, you know, real backwater for me, and I was chained to the organ. You know, and that was terrible. So I said, well, what can I do to still play Bach?
Yeah.
And be able to leave town if I want to. And so there was the guitar.
Yeah.
You know, and my roommate at the time had this Manuel de la Chica guitar, nice, sweet little old
Yeah.
flamenco guitar in Spanish. And I got a book of Bach on the guitar, and I started plugging through it. And then soon after, and really all I wanted to play was Bach. And I started writing and composing. And then, you know, so I was doing that, and I felt pretty good about it. I had no guidance whatsoever, none at all. But I had confidence, I guess. And then I kind of thought, well, I'd like to make a guitar, you know, and think I would somehow or another understand. It really was just at the first, it's just like, oh, well, you know, so I play, you know, I've got this music coming out, why not just make it? Because it's a complete package thing. It's like you get all of the elements, you know, the thought, the sound, the smells, the shapes, everything. So that's what I started out to do, was just make it because it was like a whole thing. You know, I probably took some
Wonderful.
drugs or something.
No, but that's wonderful. That's a really great approach, I think. A lot of musicians have no idea where their instruments come from.
Well, you know, I think that probably most performers or, you know, repertoirists are latent, frustrated composers.
Yeah.
And most guitar makers are latent, frustrated, wannabe guitar players. And so this you know, this hierarchy of redirection, I guess. And I just decided, no, I'm not going to redirect. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do each of those things for my own just personal yayas.
Well, I think that's that's the best guide, isn't it? And you're taking up writing again, I hear. So
yeah, well, that's it. You know, when I was composing before, I started realizing, well, I'm repeating myself, and I don't really know how to play the guitar. So then I did kind of start to make an effort to play a wider repertoire, to study some other things, some other techniques. And by the time I was doing that, then I was sort of got a little disgusted with my own writing. And so I set it aside while I was learning to play. And then 30 years went by, you know. But now I just feel that impulse, and I kind of don't care. Also, it's like living up to somebody else's standards, you know, because I was, you know, studying some pretty amazing music, and it made me feel like such a wuss, you know. But now, at my age, I just don't care about somebody else's standards anymore. I really don't. So it's like, well, if I like it, that's good enough.
Yeah.
You know? But then having gotten like Johannes to play this piece,
Yes.
and well, you know, gotten some good feedback from it and stuff, and then it's like, okay, I've got plenty of other good ideas. I just got to have the discipline to crank them, you know, to cut and paste and put them together and expand on things, and know what to throw out and know what to keep. And it's never a problem to come up with motives, you know, tricks, ideas, melodies. They're just laying in there like beers in the refrigerator, you know. But getting them together in an intelligent, meaningful, communicative organization, I gotta kick myself in the behind to do that.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing more from you, your output, guitars as well as music. Thank you very much for spending time with me.
It's really great to know you.
Yeah. Okay, great, Kenny. See you.